Grab a brew and tune in to the High Ticket Review. In each episode, you'll get a rewind of the misses, makes, and definitely magic of live high-ticket sales calls from a veteran sales consultant, Will DeShazo, who has held more than 15,000 calls and trained multiple 8-figure companies, all while developing a simple winning framework to close your next call. From objection handling,
I'm gonna need to sleep on this,
to on-call close techniques, the High Ticket Review has you covered up in talk tracks that convert to dollars. Now, on to today's training.
All right, today's episode is definitely about asking better questions in discovery. Okay, it is. But before we get there, I want to share with you 2 relevant things you might not know about me. You might or you might not. One of them you definitely don't know about me, and that's that I am trying to learn how to play the ukulele, and I'm really bad at it. But it's been a ton of fun, and my wife and my daughter, Della, who is going to be 2 in May, she loves it, and it's a blast to learn. That's a total aside. It actually has nothing to do with today. I lied. But the second thing you don't know about me does have to do with today, and that is that I am a big-time foodie, and that means that I love to cook. I'm not a professional chef, but I am a professional home chef. I cook 4 or 5 nights a week. I cook most of my lunches. I love to cook. And as a result of that, I also love to dine. I really, really love to dine, like big time. That's one of the people ask me, what do you like to do? And I'm like, eat. And I mean that. So here's the deal. There's something unique about this, and that when people say, what do you generally when I'm in conversation, what do you like to do? And I'll say, I love to eat. My wife and I, we love to explore new restaurants. And oftentimes their first question after that is, what's your favorite meal? Or if I talk about liking to cook, what's your favorite thing to cook? And my mind literally blanks, because there are so many meals that I love and have enjoyed, and there are so many things that I love to cook, and there are so many restaurants that I love to dine at. I can't even fathom it, right? And it's not because I don't have favorite restaurants or favorite dishes to cook. I definitely do. But my brain cannot retrieve that information fast enough because of your open-ended, wildly open-ended question, right? And this is a cognitive bias. It's called retrieval-induced forgetting. Retrieval-induced forgetting. And this is a formal thing, but it's also a silly thing. And it's true. You've probably had prospects, when you ask them about their challenges, they open up to you and they say, I'm not sure, or nothing really comes to mind. It's not because they don't have challenges. It's not because they're not facing things right now. The main issue, what's really going on, is retrieval-induced forgetting. It's too deep of an ocean. It's too broad of a question. I can't even think about it. Like, think about this. If I asked you, what's the best book you ever read? Now, some of you believers out there like me would probably say the Bible because it's had the most impact on us. But generally speaking, you're probably going to pause if I ask you that question. You're going to sort through all the books that you've read. But if I asked you a more specific question, like, hey, what's a book that's changed how you think about your business? Or what's the last book recommendation that you've had that a friend has given you? You could probably narrow down into something specific, right? For instance, if people didn't ask me, what's your favorite dish to cook? Oh my God, I can't even go there, right? Like retrieval-induced forgetting. No idea. But if someone said, hey, in the last week, what's the best thing you've cooked? I could immediately go there, like all day long. Here's how this relates to you in your discovery calls. Coaches on discovery calls often ask super broad questions. They'll ask, what's your biggest challenge right now? Or what's stopping you from hitting your goals? Or things like that, right? And those questions, while they are important, they're just way too open-ended. I used to have a rep on our team who right out of the gate would ask, well, what's the biggest bottleneck you face today? And people's faces, they just melted. They were like, and I used to think it was because that was like a building a wall question. It kind of is. But also, I think the main thing is it's just too open-ended. Your prospect isn't already thinking about that answer more times than not, unless your marketing is like super down and super sophisticated. So they're going to struggle with coming up with something that's actually meaningful. So what I want you to do, instead of asking these like really broad, open-ended questions, I want you to give them examples first. Then you can get to the open-ended question, but let their brain warm up to you first. So give them some specific examples to activate the right memory networks. Okay, I'm going scientific today. But you want to activate their memory networks with a really tactical, super specific thing. Like if you ask me what my favorite thing of this week that I've cooked was. That's a great question. I can go there, right? So here's like maybe a couple of templates and a couple of examples that you could use. A lot of the CEOs, let's just say, that we work with, that we talk to, a lot of the CEOs that book calls here with me, they really struggle with balancing home and work, right? Especially when they just saw a new pay raise of like 6 figures. How does that compare to your experience recently? That's probably going to allow them to open up, right? Another template you could use is, hey, many of our customers struggled with, what's the pain point? Before we started working together. Have you run into that yet? That's another template, right? Another template. Hey, companies or hey, individuals that we talk to, they usually fall into one or two of these buckets. Pain point number 1, struggle number 1, or pain point number 2, struggle number 2. Which one of those sounds more like your situation today? You see? Then you can ask the more open-ended, broad question because they're in the right memory network at this point. They're not in the retrieval-induced forgetting mode. You got specific, then you can zoom back out to, so what's the biggest bottleneck holding you back from that thing? Because they're there now. You met them where they are, right? Okay? So, thing 1, you learned about me. Ukulele will. I can't sing either. Actually, I kind of can, but I'm not going to do it for you today. Thing 2, I love to cook. But when people ask me questions about what my favorite meal to cook is, my brain completely deactivates. It just melts, right? And that's not because I'm dumb. That's because that's too open-ended of a question. So if your prospects are ever coming to you and answering your questions with a, I'm not sure, or a, nothing really comes to mind, or a, well, I'd have to really think about that, then your question is way too broad. It's way too open-ended. Open-ended is good, by the way, but not when they can't even think of an answer because of how broad it is. So get a little bit more narrow. Share some specific examples of how people feel when they come to you. Plant some seeds earlier on, maybe in your first or your second levels of questions. Then you can get to a more broader question like, what's the biggest challenge you face with that? Or what's the biggest bottleneck holding you back from achieving that? And they're in that brain space to answer that sufficiently, okay? So this should drastically help your conversations, especially in the discovery portions of your calls, the first 15, 20 minutes of your call. Go leverage this. Go use this today because I'm going to finish up this awesome, deep, dark brew. It's an awesome roast of Ethiopian beans. I'm going to have a great morning this morning. I can guarantee you that. And I hope that you do the same. Come back and join us on the next episode and go use this today to your advantage. My ukulele and my coffee are awaiting me, so I'll see you next time.
All right, you just listened to the High Ticket Review. And by the way, this podcast is completely supported by you, a high ticket closer, business owner, or salesperson. So make sure to smash that subscribe button to close higher dollar deals faster. And don't forget, go implement what you heard today. Opportunity is right around the bend on the other end of every single call that you take. See you next time.